Good evening and welcome to Have I Got News For You? I'm Anna Ford. In the news this week, at a primary school in London, parents complain that new health and safety rules have ruined the annual sports day. With ITV, the producer of the new Chris Evans show does the decent thing. And the new junior minister for road building pops out to check on the progress of the B218. Bonnie and Hislop's team is a writer and comedian who says he finds watching comedy programmes very stressful because when they're good it terrifies me and when they're bad it annoys me. So he's in for an annoying evening then. Please welcome David Mitchell. And with Paul Merton tonight is a Labour MP who was recently involved in a bad-tempered incident in the Commons when a fellow MP elbowed him in the lobbies. Enough to make anyone bad-tempered, I'd have thought. Please welcome Bob Marshall-Andrews. And we start with round one. Ian and David, take a look at this.
That's a 67-year-old starting a new job.
Someone who should retire. Oh, and another one.
He's put on weight, hasn't he? Look at that double chin.
And that's a protester from Greenpeace throwing confetti. That's going to stop nuclear power. Nuclear wrong answer.
It's about pensions and it's about nuclear power, isn't it?
Yes, the government's got a policy to link the two together. So we have nuclear power and the station's run entirely by old people.
Can we not burn old age pensioners for fuel?
And then you don't have to pay them, so we solve two problems.
Because, you know, one of the bad effects of you know, radiation is that you can, you know, develop cancer over the next 20 years. Well, if you're already 84, then that doesn't really matter. Obviously, so you might as well have 84-year-olds, you know, run the stations. Obviously, the downside is that they are quite forgetful. They might forget to turn everything off before they leave.
You can get a new face now, can't you? If something goes horribly wrong, you just go down to France, get a new face, you don't look like that anymore, and you suddenly become much better.
Are we seriously suggesting that the nuclear power industry should be run by forgetful OAPs? If they make a mistake, they can go to France and get a new face? Yeah, well, let's show our hands for that. There we are, all on that.
What is the problem about pensions?
We can't afford them, we haven't got enough money.
People are very selfishly living longer and longer and longer, and we can't afford to have them sitting around on ventilators all the time. So as a result, we have to institute a system where retirement becomes like a sort of gentleman's club, and you can only retire when one person who's already retired dies. It's like getting into the MCC.
There's a bit of a problem in Glasgow, isn't it? Because the male expectancy age in Glasgow is 68. So they're not happy about retiring at 67. It's a gap year, isn't it? Between life and death.
So you must know, Bob, what were the recommendations that Lord Turner made about pensions?
No, I don't.
Oh, we beat the truth out of you.
Yes, really. I thought I'd come clean immediately, but the Chancellor doesn't like them, which means, of course, the Prime Minister does like them.
How do we know that Gordon Brown isn't happy?
Unsubtle leaks like Gordon Brown isn't happy.
He's
a friend.
We might also...
We all know he hasn't got any friends, it's got to be Gordon.
Well, you've got a very poor view of the new Labour, haven't you? I mean, and it comes out in your body language. You know? I think they're a complete bunch of bastards.
This is coming from someone who described the Prime Minister as bonkers.
That's right. It's not so much bonkers, it's a question of really being psychotic. No, let me explain this to you. Psychiatrists who teach psychiatry to students have a great deal of difficulty in explaining the difference between psychosis and neurosis. And the classic way they do it is that they say the psychotic believes that 2 and 2 is 5, but the neurotic knows that 2 and 2 is 4, but hates it. now, at the moment, we've got a psychotic in number 10 and a neurotic in number 11.
And we had a slightly nerve-wracking election night. I can't think how you got in even with such a small margin.
Easy.
200 votes?
Yes, it's
Because
huge.
your canvassing technique is really singular, I think. Let's have a look.
I'm nothing but a load of puppets.
For Tony Blair. You think I'm a puppet for Tony Blair?
Yeah.
All right, now any single person in this audience who knows about my voting record in the House of Commons knows that what you just struck is an enormous amount of ignorant rubbish. Anyone that says that I'm a puppet for Tony Blair knows nothing whatsoever. Oh, he's gone.
What else is Tony Blair dithering at the moment?
This is the nuclear.
Yes, it's nuclear.
Yeah, well, they've worked out that they've planned to close all power stations in the next 15 years. And apparently there just won't be enough batteries in garages to keep everything running. So they've decided that nuclear power's probably safe now. It's had a rest. So let's try that.
Have they looked at the possibility of generating electricity through static electricity in old ladies' cardigans?
This is all the reaction to the Turner report on pensions. According to a study in The Independent, by the year 2030, over 50% of the adult population will be pensioners. So if you're thinking of buying some stamps, I'd start queuing now. According to the Sunday Times, the average New Zealander stops work at 64, the average German stops work at 62, and the average Frenchman stops work at 12 and doesn't come back till about 5:30.
Very good.
Up to 6,000 British gas workers are to take industrial action over pensions. According to the Daily Mirror, the gas workers are planning their first one-day strike on December the 12th, although they can't say whether it'll be in the morning or the afternoon. Paul and Bob, here's yours.
Geoffrey Archer.
Shouldn't you be in prison, sir? David Cameron, Ian Duncan Smith.
Yes, we're here.
Can't remember who that is. Used to be on this show, I think. David Davis. It's the Tories, isn't it? It's the Tories' new leader.
That's Geoffrey Archer, who is trying to get back into the Conservative Party, which has caused outbreaks of celebration and popping of champagne corks in Labour Party headquarters, and shows that Lord Archer is now completely psychotic.
Ideal for Prime Minister, then.
How was he described in the Guardian newspaper?
The former disgraced peer? Perjurer? Crook?
A controversial but popular figure.
What's wrong with the Guardian?
Lord Archer.
Right, everyone, you've got to stop reading it at once. Controversial but popular.
So he's...
2 lies in one. That's Cameron showing good taste, really.
Well, that he said he wouldn't have him back under the whip.
It's not the most controversial remark to say that criminal fool who's nearly destroyed us so many times, can he not come back here? That's not sticking your neck out and sort of saying we're going to make a new conservatism for a new government. You're just saying, no, the idiot with the ticking bomb of destruction for us all. Don't let him come in and start lighting matches.
What did Lord Archer do in April of last year?
Did he stuff a goat with cottage cheese? For charity? No? I'm thinking of somebody else entirely, then.
According to the Sun's website, Lord Archer ran the London Marathon in April last year, and according to Lord Archer's website, he won it in world record time. So, on this leadership election, when are they going to announce the results?
Monday, I know that.
Monday.
That's what I told you.
Actually, the result of the Conservative Party leadership contest is going to be announced not on Monday, as Bob has been told, but next Tuesday. Conservative Central Office can't be precise about when. One of the researchers rang to find out, and a spokesperson said it should be announced around mid-afternoon sort of time. It definitely won't be morning, but it could be delayed until afternoon. It sort of depends. But I can't really say on what. They really shouldn't allow Boris to answer the phone. This is the final week of the Tory leadership contest. David Cameron has secured the backing of Ian Duncan Smith, according to the Daily Mail. Mr Duncan Smith is the last major figure in the party to declare his support. Actually, he was the first, but no one noticed. This week, the Conservative Party held a special dinner in Whitehall. According to The Independent, Tory MPs paid £300 each to say goodbye to Michael Howard, which they all agreed was a bargain. Archer's literary agent admitted this week that his latest novel is not one of his best. And so on to round 2, and with just 23 days to go till Christmas, it's high time we saw the return of the picture spin quiz. Fingers on buzzers, please, chaps.
Dogs watching television. This is about people who don't pay their licence fee and come up with all kinds of reasons why they don't pay their licence fee. One bloke said, well, it's only the dog that watches the telly. And somebody else said, I just watch Neighbours and they don't pay for a licence in Australia, so I don't have to pay.
Absolutely right.
What is that programme? Is that what EastEnders is like now?
Teletubbies for the incontinent.
Well, the most shocking fact, actually, to come out of all this is that there are 58,000 people in Britain still watching black and white television.
Oh.
What was
Wouldn't
somebody...
church your dog, though, would you?
Aren't dogs colourblind?
Yeah.
Dogs only see black and white. You're wasting your money. If you've got a dog that's got a colour licence, hit it around the head. Bloody idiot.
Apart from the ones that Paul has given, what were some of the excuses given for not having a television licence?
Everything on television's shit.
I've turned it into a fish tank. That's showing Neighbours.
I never used my set, I just switched on EastEnders to see if it affected my radio reception. It's a black and white television. The colour you can see is a one-off programme special. I've never bothered with a licence. The television works just as well without it. What helpful advice do TV licensing staff give to people who don't pay for their licences?
Wherever you go, we'll track you down and kill you like a mad dog.
Well, rather than trying to convince us they don't need a television licence, evaders should spend a minute checking out the many ways to pay.
I really think that people don't pay because there aren't enough ways. You know, it's just the one way of paying. It's so dull. It's just like, I don't buy food anymore because it's just handing money over and it's, you know, I think there were more ways to pay. So you could bring a number and pay like that.
Or put £100 in a sack and chuck it in a canal. Would that be difficult to collect if people chuck their money in a canal?
Yes, you'd have mermaids to collect it. Now, London...
I think you're wandering in the realms of fantasy there.
No, you'd have a filtration lock system. You know. There's no way they'd use mythical creatures.
Yeah.
What is the BBC now going to be allowed to do with licence dodgers?
Hang them? It's not hanging, is it?
It's not as kind as that.
Put them into I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here.
Ministers have announced plans to allow the BBC to clamp their cars.
If they clamp their cars, they just have to stay in and watch TV.
What can they do?
This is the list of excuses given by television licence dodgers. According to The Times, one man from Sheffield claimed that the only creature in his house who watched television was his dog, and for once David Blunkett was telling the truth. One licence evader in East London said, God told me to buy a television as he has a very important message for me. And that message is, you are a nutter.
How did you do that with your voice? No wonder you've had a wonderful career if you can do that.
That's not all I can do. One evader told the authorities, you've got the wrong person. I'm not Margaret Smith, my name is Jane Devereux. How do you spell that? Oh, all right, you got me. So, team, stand by for the next picture.
You see, the audience is there. It's Saddam Hussein. Or is it Captain Haddock?
And what's been bothering him as his trial resumed this week?
Has he got a lawyer? Because he's been murdered.
It's one of the problems of being his defence lawyer.
Yes.
You die.
What has been the good news for this man?
He's found a pavement that suits the fact that one leg is shorter than the other.
He's called Recep Cesar, and he makes Saddam suits.
Why does Saddam still have a tailor? I thought he'd been arrested for being a mass murderer.
There's no reason why genocide shouldn't also be elegant. Didn't respect a bit of class.
Did anyone see the highly informative report on the BBC News this week on a newly emergent terrorist group? Let's have a look.
Well, there is no clue apart from the name of the organisation. Now, that name was clearly made up. They're calling themselves sorry, I've forgotten what the name is. Yeah, I've gone dead on that one. But the name is clearly made up, that's the point.
Do you think the people who actually did make up the name of that terrorist group are sitting there saying, I told you, it just doesn't...
And finally, a Baghdad-related product has been attracting complaints this week. It's the new American-made board game, Battle for Baghdad, the fight for freedom. The winner is the first one to make it to Baghdad without losing all his soldiers. And there are random cards that you have to turn over, a bit like chance cards in Monopoly. One is the disgrace card. Some soldiers are found guilty of unlawful treatment and inhumane acts of violence towards Iraqi prisoners, lose 100 troops. And another says, beautiful young woman takes out 50 men in a suicide bombing. Now, the release of the game has understandably provoked outrage, so how has the game's inventor defended himself?
Well, he says he's the president.
He's issued a statement saying, as an American, I was brought up to believe that we should have ideas and try to make money out of them. That's the American way. This is the ongoing trial of Saddam. According to the Telegraph, Saddam complained that his pen, pencils and paper had been confiscated by guards. And worst of all, his lucky gonk. Saddam's tailor this week revealed Saddam has a 44-inch chest and a 42-inch waist. Fascinating, said the judge, but we really only need his neck measurement. Fingers on buzzers for our next picture.
Is that the Marines?
It is the Marines.
There's been some footage of an initiation rite, which some of the Marines have been initiating, I suppose, is the word in which they show their commitment to the force by taking their clothes off or dressing up as women and then beating each other senseless.
And they have big things on their arms. like this. It's very similar, you've seen those photographs, to the Parliamentary Labour Party discussing the terrorism bill or the education bill. That's the way we do it. But we don't have the things... we don't have the things...
You're not a pilot, are you?
No, we don't have the things on the arms.
There's another one coming up. Sense it.
Weren't you recently involved in a punch-up at Westminster?
No, certainly not. No,
Label loyalist, Jim Dow?
absolutely, definitely not. If you want to know what happened, and it's very unedifying, I happened to be standing in a members' lobby and I used a well-known mafia Italian expression which is called faggio.
Faggio.
Faggio, which means a gopher or a lackey. And one of my colleagues, nice
Jim
chap
Dow.
underneath, misheard what I said and thought I'd cast aspersions on his absolutely immaculate and impeccable heterosexual credentials. So he proved his heterosexual credentials by jumping on me. I didn't enjoy it, but that's politics. It's politics.
What has the officer in charge of 42 Commandos said about his regiment?
It was just male bonding stuff. It's what happens.
Sometimes uniforms get delivered late.
He said zero tolerance of bullying and harassment. Anyone found doing it gets stripped naked and beaten unconscious.
I mean, none of it's as bad as, having to get shot in a war. The point when, a bullet's about to enter your skull and you're finished as a soldier, you probably look back quite fondly to the time when you were only having the shit kicked out of you in the mirror.
Nostalgic, really.
Yeah.
A number of things can be deduced from the video of Marines fighting naked. It's a brutal environment, a lot of drink was involved, and from what I've seen, it was obviously a very cold day. Condemning the practice, Conservative spokesman Patrick Mercer said, just imagine a young man being made to wrestle naked while his officers are dressed up in women's frillies. At which point several Tory backbenchers let out a dreamy sigh. Time now for the odd one out round. Just one between you this week. Lord Black of Cross Harbour, Lord Watson of Invergary, Wayne Rooney, and a motorist in Switzerland.
Dead easy, that.
Wayne Rooney. It would have made Darwin happy, that picture, wouldn't it? Lord Black, he's been arrested this week for allegedly being a bit of a crook, stealing money from the Telegraph Group. Lord Watson, he was caught setting fire to some curtains in a hotel. He's a Labour peer, he's one of your lot. He was so angry, presumably, with Blair's policies that he set fire to the hotel.
How was he caught?
On CCTV.
That might be a clue.
Ah, have they all been caught on CCTV?
Apart from the motorist, who's been missed.
Well, they've half got it.
Yeah, exactly.
Is it apart from Wayne Rooney? Hang on. You know about football, David.
Oh, yeah, no, I've heard of two footballers, Wayne Rooney and David Beckham. So that's insider knowledge. There's actually more than one of them. Apparently you need over 8 for a team. No one knows the precise figure.
The answer is that they've all been caught up by security cameras, apart from the motorist in Switzerland, who was caught by the same speed camera 4 times.
Was it Jeremy Clarkson and he was running over a fox?
No, he didn't realise he was passing a speed trap. According to the Telegraph, his bafflement at being repeatedly flashed led him to pass the spot again and again and again and again. Let's move on to Lord Watson of Invergowrie. Why did he end his 20-year political career by this act of recklessness?
I think he was doing a demonstration of the effects of 24-hour drinking.
According to his solicitor, the events of this night are as incomprehensible to Lord Watson as they must be to the many people who've looked at them and puzzled over them. They defy rational explanation. Basically, he was pissed. Lord Watson was caught on camera setting fire to the curtains in a hotel. The following morning, the Labour Party tried to draw a veil over the incident. Unfortunately, Lord Watson set fire to that as well. Ex-Telegraph boss Lord Black was recently caught on security camera removing 12 huge box files from his offices. Lord Black has been told to sell his yacht, or he could do the honourable thing for disgraced newspaper magnates and fall off the back of it. Wayne Rooney was caught on CCTV last week as he had a rendezvous with a brunette in a nightclub in Altrincham. According to The Sun, within minutes of meeting her, Wayne was kissing Emily in the VIP area. The CCTV camera was covered up as soon as Rooney entered the kitchen, and seconds later moans of ecstasy were heard as Wayne had found a meat pie in the fridge. Which means at the end of this round, Paul and Bob have 5 and Ian and David have 6. Time now for our Missing Words round, which this week features as its guest publication the harrowing Classic Tractor magazine. So here we go with Micheldever in Hampshire is not somewhere you'd expect to find what?
Anything at all.
Latest in tractors. Tractor design. Latest tractor design. Lovely tractors. Boom, 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 boom.
Is it an Al-Qaeda cell?
No, Micheldever in Hampshire is not somewhere you'd expect to find a tractor exporter.
Yeah.
It comes from the magazine Classic Tractor, or as it's called in Norfolk, Modern Tractor. Next, what? Driving snails to what?
Tractors driving snails to work. It was originally taxis, but they couldn't stand the speed. It scared them.
Oh, was it David Attenborough? Driving snails to celibacy. Whenever they just start, there he is with a camera.
Or producer driving snails to David Attenborough, because he's actually slower than them now. It's quicker to make the programme, so they just pile up all the wildlife next to him. And he describes it, and then they take it all away.
No, it's poachers driving snails to the brink of extinction. This is the Burgundy snail, which is in danger of extinction. According to The Times, the snail was introduced to Britain by the Romans more than 2,000 years ago. It's currently just on the outskirts of Dover. Next, tearful Madonna admits what?
I never cry. I have made mistakes in the past, says Madonna, not me.
It's hell being a working mother. In a new documentary following Madonna on tour, she's seen calling her children kitty-bitty winkies and her husband crappy-wappy filmmaker. Finally, end of the road for inflatable what?
It's got to be motorway cones, that's it. It's cones that you blow up, isn't it? Or bottom down.
Closer on the motorway.
Bollards.
Please.
No, listen, we've all had a drink.
Is it crash barriers?
No.
Yeah, bouncy crash barriers.
Yeah.
Is it Lulu?
Ends away from inflatable Lulu, how dare you? Is it Lulu? It is, isn't it?
I'm sorry, Paul.
Not Lulu.
It's not, no. End of the road for inflatable passenger. This is a story that motorists in Scotland are trying to avoid a new toll on cars with only one occupant by carrying inflatable dummies as passengers.
I know him. That's my car. I lent him my car.
It looks like Rod Stewart who's put a tyre on them.
But a new machine designed to catch them out is so clever that it can tell real skin from plastic, although it does make an odd whirring noise whenever it spots a car driven by Anne Robinson. And that brings us to the end of the show, and the final scores are as follows. Paul and Bob 7, Ian and David 7.
Oh, good.
And I leave you with news that in Rome, the first entrant takes a long run-up in the Kick the Hat Off the Pope competition. In Eastbourne, armed police arrived just in time to foil a daring raid on a mint humbug factory. And at a pre-dawn drugs bust in Glastonbury, Boris Johnson pleads his innocence. Good night.
Comedy from Ben Elton, Blessed, next on BBC One, and not to be missed on BBC Three later, the all-new sketch show Man Stroke Woman. That's at 10:30 tonight.